Okay, back to exploring ancient battles deluxe. And here we're jumping back to 334 BC, Granicus. Interesting battle, the way it's set up at least. Big phalanx here, that's slow moving. A lot of cav for the Persian forces here. Leadership, way in Alexander's favor. He's got 4 tokens, basically an extra Alexander on the field, in addition to the normal leadership that the Persians have. Point-wise, there's more points in the army of Alexander, so it takes a harder time to rout him. This presents an interesting situation there's no question there. First of all, let's see if I can not forget to ignore the woods in this battle. They're not supposed to be there. If this was a clear plains, I would feel a lot more comfortable with the cav. But there's not a lot of room for them. Their one big advantage is they can kind of run away and then swoop around and maybe make attacks or whatever. They don't have to stand and fight, but they're standing on the best terrain on the board. The hills there give a +1 to defense and a +1 to attacking. So if the Macedonians march forward, this is the best defensive. Whoops. Yeah, these counters are too big for the hexes, and my fingers are too clumsy for war games. This is sort of the best terrain that the Persians are going to find. So it's a troubling situation, because what do? You can't really use the mobility advantage without giving up that terrain. And there's not a lot of room to run. In the back, we've got some infantry for the Persians, including some of those mixed missile units back there. And of course their command point. For the Macedonians, sprinkling of cav, just mixed throughout the force. Some light archers, skirmishers basically, but they're pretty decent with 2 arrows each. I don't know how it's going to work out. Clearly, you'd think the Macedonians have a huge advantage, but and they have the cav, the anti-cav bonus for the phalanxes, so that should be a pretty powerful tool. You kind of have to use the cav's mobility, and that's the thing. I just don't have a real feel for how I'm going to use it here. We got any issue? The stream doesn't cause disorder. Nothing does here. Alright, well, let's get started. So as we open things up, the Persians only get 4 command points. The Macedonians get 6. We're going to see that kind of variance throughout because of the leadership difference. Persians got initiative. I don't see a reason to take that away from them. I don't see a reason not to, but spending command points is kind of, you kind of want to have a good reason to do so. You can always do some archery or whatever, which might help. Your Macedonians spend their first command point firing off some arrows, and they manage to kill something right off the bat. Macedonians advance at their slow pace, don't want to cross the river or stream and make an attack. However, the Persians actually do. They're launching to try to wipe out some of those archers. Those archers are going to be really potent. As we can see, they just wiped this out. I got to get them out of there. Now, I screwed up with the Persians by not putting a leader back here. I'd like to be swinging that force around the flank. Oh well, I think that's kind of historical, actually, leaving the infantry behind. That leaves me really this one big Macedonian wedge of cav. How useful is that? Well, I definitely want to hit this, so I got to think what I want to hit it with. The heavy cav is more valuable and more likely to strike. I could push a light cav up into place, and that would give me a pretty strong position, I think. And again, the Persians essentially made a mistake. They attacked across here. They didn't get the victory, and then withdrawing from here becomes impossible. They'd have to go through a zone, so they don't have an easy way out of there. And they got attacked by this heavy cav here. But they weren't destroyed, barely. but the Macedonians missed by 1 point, and that pushes us into the second turn. And at some point, the Macedonians have to push across this bad terrain. It's not just the hills, there's the stream too. And if we look here, the hills give a +1, the stream gives a -2. So that's not a good place on either side for the Macedonians to be. That frontal assault does not look appealing to me. Well, the disparity in points has even grown. 6 again for the Macedonians, 3 this time for the Persians. They got initiative again, and again the Macedonians didn't want to take it away. Question, of course, is where do the Persians want to go? They can run away. If they don't, they're going to get shot. Looks like Alexander's planning on crossing the stream. Maybe a little too ambitious. Some arrow fire, but that was recuperated from. But over here, the attack by the 2 phalanx units that I had leaders on and decided to charge up the hill. Well, this one broke through and destroyed another heavy cav, and the points have been assessed already there. But over here, Alexander's phalanx actually got damaged, and that is dangerous because, well, now he no longer has the extra multiplier for being a phalanx versus horse units, and I have a real problem at this point. Maybe I shouldn't have advanced this one, I'm not sure. Being in the river, just in the stream, just sucks though. So overall, that probably was best to make the advance. That's going to force the cav to do something. Alright, we'll move to turn 3. Okay, same kind of point disparity, 6 to 4 that we're used to. This time the Macedonians got the initiative. Leaders placed to try to punch the hole through and get the archers. And for the Persians, well, try to defend and try to do that. No reason to buy initiative in this one, I don't think. The only thing that's really valuable is this archery fire. If it came down to... But the Persians don't have any. There's just not enough maneuver going on for initiative to be terribly interesting. Archer fire didn't do much. The Persians were able to recover from the damage from it. You see a small contingent of Macedonian cav having pushed across the border. You're going to see a little bit of fighting there, perhaps. This could, of course, withdraw. And then the attempt to punch across here failed. We've got a phalanx that completely was destroyed. Didn't get a lot here. Didn't get a lot here. Here, the withdrawal would have disordered this, and I don't think it would have even been possible. One of those cases where, you know, I chose not to just run away and take my red marker, but instead, then when I saw it was just too tightly packed, I couldn't run far enough through the enemy to the hex where I would have to retreat to, so I really wasn't able to run there. Here, things didn't work well for the Macedonians either, so it was overall a very bad turn for their attack, and now I'm hoping to be able to kind of turn the tide a little bit with the crack in the line and everything. We'll see, because I don't really have the ability to cross over. Yes, I have some faster units, but there's still zones here and here, and I don't want to get stuck there. This weird sort of situation had developed where both sides had a command chit, and neither one really wanted to spend because they both had kind of a reactive move. Especially the Persians had a move they had choices that if the Macedonians played out all their chits, the Persians could play. Now, but they didn't want to risk it. They had this cav unit sitting here facing the wrong way. They also had this archer here who they kind of wanted to fire at the phalanx, but the phalanx's missile defense was too high, so they chose not to do that. Instead, they slung around for a +1 attack here, hoping to break things there. I don't know how wise that is. They had kind of a nice position, other than the fact that the cav was facing the wrong way, set up. But I feel like it's almost guaranteed that the Macedonians are going to crack my line at some moment, especially with these bonus archers, and I just couldn't use them. Anyway, the Macedonians chose to fire their archer off here which was basically useless. If they hit, then I get to recover. So they probably should have just passed, because obviously the Persians were unwilling to play their chit. They passed a couple of times in a row. As we move into turn 5, very slow moving action going on here. You know, here actually the Macedonians got the drop because they had the initiative, so they fired off, caused each some damage. Likewise here, they had the advantage here. Now the light cav could have run away. Here I didn't want to make the attack with the Macedonians. It's very difficult to kind of get that. The reason is this is just an even attack essentially. The phalanx is a little bigger, so it gets +1, but these guys have the hills, so they get +1. Chances are what I'm going to get is what I've been getting, these both sides flip. Now that's not bad for the Macedonians in the sense that they get more of these command points in general, and they also have these archers that can help pick off a unit like this, so it might be okay for them to make those trade-offs. I didn't want to make that one. The risk of losing a phalanx was too big. This time the Persians won the initiative, but the Macedonians bought it. Persians not really able to spend their command points. They've got things to heal. They might have been able to get away with spending one. But that puts them at even on that. The reason? Well, the Macedonians can pretty much kill that light cav. And that ain't going to do it, so they have to take their second shot. And that does. Put a couple of these no melee markers up. Persians managed to shoot back successfully and take out that big heavy cav, which actually had Alexander on it. He's not dead, but it definitely weakens this whole flank for the Macedonians. The Macedonians are able to put the Persians in a rough position with a formation move, slipping in over here, around the corner here, and then bringing some infantry up and turning the phalanx to hit the the flank of this heavy cav. Now, if the heavy cav turns to meet it, that opens up a possible flank attack on another phalanx, of course, from the stream, which is safer. But it's just creating this kind of, you know, like wiggling a rotten tooth to try to break it out. A lucky arrow shot, and the Macedonians, having already used the unit, made this phalanx exceedingly weak, and now things are looking a lot uglier for them in that tooth wiggling process. After checking for game end, this is where we're left. The attack on this phalanx, it wasn't a very good attack. It ended up not having its needed results, and to tell you the truth, the Macedonians have gained a lot of they've regained a lot of their positioning by knocking out a heavy cav. I hate how easy things slip. The slickery map, but also these very weird counter materials. Took out one of these heavy cav with the attack coming through here. I didn't follow through because the odds just weren't that good. Pretty much the same kind of odds that I did use there, much to the Persians' dismay, really. Alright. Entering turn 6 here, and at Granicus, the die rolls went, well, the die rolls actually went in favor for the command points of the Persians, but still there's this inequality in the leadership. And then initiative went to the Macedonians. The Persians paid 1. The Macedonians matched that. The main reason the Persians wanted is they have an archery shot on this phalanx that they'd like to take. They're going to get a free archery shot no matter what, either at the light infantry or the phalanx. But the Macedonians want to get their phalanx fixed while it's vulnerable, because that is just too big a thing to lose to, you know, a little archer back there. Macedonians are definitely feeling like they wish they had more points. They set themselves up to move these archers forward. They're very powerful. They've done a lot of damage so far in this game. Alternatively, though, if they could fire with one of these archers, they might be able to launch an attack that would be powerful. If they had an extra chip. They have a unit here that they probably ought to rally. In fact, they screwed up by only rallying the phalanx, making sure they rallied it, rather than doing this. So I've got to kind of make a decision here. I don't want to lose a unit, so I'm going to rally that unit. But it is more of a conservative option than maybe I should be taking at this point. There's a very good chance that this is going to not be a victory even for the Macedonians. We're getting late in the game, making die rolls to see that it ends, and there's just not a lot. The lines aren't breaking the way you would, expect at this battle, this great battle, a great victory of Alexander's. Well, I'm no Alexander, I guess. All right. And the Macedonians were ineffectual again with attacks from both of these units on this one. They still didn't dislodge it, including this huge attack here, where they were at 24 plus 6, plus 7, plus 8 versus plus 1. They still didn't take it. Now, that cav, you would say, well, maybe it couldn't run because it would have to go through here and it would have to go through zones, so it was at risk. My hope had been to bust them out with this one and then make an attack this way, but obviously that didn't work. 1 or 2 the turn the game ends. No, we're going to go forward. Same kind of results for the leadership rolls. The Macedonians, though, had to spend 1 to grab the initiative. Persians did not want to challenge that. This is gone. Again, to save this unit from being shot easily. Macedonian light cavalry bit it due to the archery fire, and we moved the archers, the Macedonian archers, up. That'll give them a drop shot to try to get rid of some of this stuff. This had to recover, so it wasn't able to attack them in any way. I did attempt the firing on a light here to try to move in and knock it out with the phalanx. That didn't happen, but otherwise we're standing pretty much in the same position we were last turn. Time to start rolling some combat dice. Macedonians are getting frustrated. Still kind of a no result happening along the line here, and they launched an attack, basically both at +1 against this medium infantry here, and I hope to damage it so this would have a better chance of knocking that. While they just damaged themselves and nothing else, and now it's beginning to look pretty questionable. They're almost hoping the game ends here because they're kind of worried what might happen. These guys are healthy and there's an exposed rear there. It's getting scary, and it does end, so I'll count the points and come back after that. Neither army's panicked. Nobody lost their points. Nobody had a bonus point. And we're looking at 43 strength points of Macedonians and 38 Persian. This is just a plain out draw. Haven't seen one of them yet. But this defensive terrain, I had a hard time trying to figure out my way around it. And it was beginning to look really ugly with the advances I tried to make. Kind of neat to see one end in a draw. Alright, up it goes.